Check one. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're going to start with a couple comments from viewers that I missed reading on Friday's show. We've got a lot to talk about. The budget passed in Albany. I'm not sure how many days did it end up being overdue. About 20, probably. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. A little bit about Trump, a little bit about Biden. The Columbia students not giving in. The anti-Israel protests continue. They set back up as soon, I guess, as they were out of jail. We'll talk about that as well. First, viewer comment. Frankly, on April 19th, I received a notice from the city of Corning to a $24,000 property assessment increase. This is in addition to the $36,000 increase just a few years ago. I'm given until May 7th to collect info and prepare a grievance. Like the school district, this is nothing but a low-down money grab. This is the straw breaking my financial camel's back. City, state, school district, I'll begin preparation to leave this area. You know, we had this early on in the program about a year ago. We had a a poll, I believe it was, or it was an article talking about how most people, not most, a good majority of people in New York State have basically a 5-year plan. Preparation to move from the state. Well, if you think it's bad, wait till you hear about the, $237 billion budget. $237 billion state budget. Where do you think that money's coming from? We'll talk about that, not to pile on, but I totally understand your concerns and why you are preparing to leave the area. We've heard from so many people on this program that either are planning on leaving, have left, and it's sad. But with the decisions coming from Albany, the decisions, as we said before, it's how important is it to vote local. Pay attention to your local school boards, your city, your towns. That all ties in. So I understand. We'll hate to see you go. But at some point, everybody can only be pushed so far. I don't know. I was thinking about, there's some work going on behind the scenes here in the alley if you hear some background noise. But yeah, I was hesitant to bring this up, but I thought, well, it is 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you've have yet to have your cup of coffee. Well, this should get you fired up. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have announced their 2024 class of inductees. I normally avoid these type of fluff stories, but I thought it was worth mentioning. In the performer category this year, the inductees are Mary J. Blige, Cher, Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner I would have thought would already be in there, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Ozzy Osbourne, and A Tribe Called Quest. Jimmy Buffett, MC5, Dionne Warwick, and Norman Whitfield, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, were selected as the recipients of the Musical Excellence Award. Now, the announcement was made Sunday during the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night episode on American Idol. The inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame were selected among nominees announced earlier this year and have, quote, created music whose originality, impact, and influence has changed the course of rock and roll. Nominees this year included, but did not make it in, Sinead O'Connor, Lenny Kravitz, and Mariah Carey. Now, to be eligible for nomination, an individual, artist, or band must have released its first commercial recording at least 25 years prior to the year of nomination. So what do you think? I know that's not necessarily big news or the kind of news we talk about here on the program that often, but what do you think of this year's inductees? Mary J. Blige, Cher, Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Ozzy Osbourne, and A Tribe Called Quest. Now, we're going to talk a lot about New York State issues. I have a couple of local-ish issues to get to as well. We're going to talk about the anti-Israel tent city at Columbia University. Oh, what do you think? Mike Johnson, is he going to be out now that we have Ukraine funding? Marjorie Taylor Greene is pushing for it. We'll talk about that as well. How about this? Lately, we've been talking on the program about NPR. So I guess this section of the program is about media. Rumors are now swirling, I can't believe I'm saying this, of a Chris Cuomo CNN comeback. Andrew isn't the only Cuomo trying to stage a comeback, according to the New York Post. In the wake of the failure of Charles Barkley and Gayle King's primetime talk show, sources at CNN have been gossiping about the network's next move. King has insisted, just so you know, it was always a limited run. It was never going to be a permanent thing. The top brass are pulling their hair out trying to find a solution before the election really heats up, said an insider. They have Anderson Cooper, but they're saying they need another Chris. Okay. In 2021, Chris Cuomo was CNN's highest-rated primetime star, which tells you a lot about CNN. But he was fired by then CEO Jeff Zucker after allegations he provided assistance to his brother, then Governor Andrew Cuomo, on how to combat sexual harassment allegations leveled by former aides. After his ouster, Chris filed for arbitration, demanding $125 million from CNN over his exit. He also landed a new gig at News Nation. Now, I've heard people say that they watch his program on News Nation. If you do, what do you think? I was never a Chris Cuomo fan. I did think during COVID it was awkward when he was interviewing his brother. I know that. Last year, Variety reported sources as saying part of Zucker's reasoning for axing Chris was to integrate himself with incoming Warner Brothers Discovery boss David Zaslav. Zucker, who adamantly refuted the Variety report, was pushed out himself back in 2022. A source told the New York Post, CNN insiders say there could be a deal to be made with Chris down the road. This is already being whispered about and discussed quietly, but still unofficial. Management has changed, and CNN would be ready to move beyond the old issue, especially since they've not been able to replicate Chris's success with their audience. Imagine that. Chris Cuomo's success with the audience. Again, I think it shows you a little bit of how CNN is doing. The source also said, quote, although Chris isn't talking about this openly, it's generally accepted by his circle, and he misses his old job, loves being on TV, and making a difference on national topics of interest to everyone. He wants to be in Israel, reporting on the war. American audience love a comeback. It remains a long shot that CNN would amicably settle Chris's lawsuit and bring him back. But stranger things have happened in TV when it comes down to ad dollars and the almighty ratings. Cuomo has previously said of his time at CNN in a podcast interview, I wasn't set up to be number one. I wasn't the big name there. I didn't have the big team. They didn't do the advertising about me, but I was still number one. Why? Because it was the best show. Because I was giving people what they needed. Here's a good point from a viewer. I don't watch CNN anyway, so Cuomo is nothing to me. Yes, I understand. I don't either watch it. I never really got Chris Cuomo, why he was such a main focus. So we don't need to talk more about that. Just a couple of weird things. We're also going to talk here in a little bit maybe about the hush money trial, which starts today. But first, we're going to talk New York State budget. Yes, the division of the budget staff, they were dressed in pink. Cluster around a pink chair in the New York State Capitol basement around the Dunkin' Donuts. They giddily proclaimed their cause, wear pink. Separate offices within the DOB compete over rates of staff participation. It's like high school spirit week. This is the reporting on the $237 billion budget. They did reach a deal on housing, which has been a top priority for some time now. New York tenant advocates, it has been a proposal known as a good cause eviction. The budget includes a measure that goes by that name, but is significantly narrower in scope. The narrowed version included in the budget will protect some tenants from hefty rent hikes by limiting rent increases to no more than 10% per year during years when inflation is low. It will also guarantee that covered tenants can renew their leases each year as long as they stay current on rent and follow the terms of their lease. So we're not going to talk all about that. That was a major sticking point, though. That's what we heard time and time again was what the delay was all about. We're going to talk about the budget when we come back. I do got to take our first break. Thanks for joining us this morning on this Monday morning edition, all 2 hours of Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-974-9753 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-974-9753. That's 1-800-974-9753 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now. A beautiful, yet a little chilly morning here on Market Street in Corning. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So, just a quick reminder before I forget, and I'll try to remind you during the week. Coming up on the 24th of April, it is the nutrition workshop at the Painted Post Food Pantry. Our friends at the food pantry. Last time I reminded you the day of, I wanted to give you a little wiggle room. It's this Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and it runs till 11:30 a.m. All workshops include a 35 to 40-minute lesson, a recipe demonstration with samples, and a free kitchen tool for every participant. Lessons, recipe, and kitchen tools are different every time. That's at the United Church of Painted Post, 201 North Hamilton Street in Painted Post. I'll try to remind you during the week. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We have a couple other local announcements that we'll make. Oh, speaking of local, I know one of the things in the budget we'll talk about is cannabis and what they're trying to do. But did you hear about what happened in Binghamton? 14 individuals were arrested by the Binghamton Police Department and Broome County Sheriff at the 4th annual Smoke Weed Outside the Binghamton Police Station event. Kind of a big name there, kind of an unwieldy name for their event. Smoke Weed Outside the Binghamton Police Station event. The charges range from making graffiti. Is that how you say that? Making graffiti? Petty larceny for the theft of a body camera, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest, according to Broome County Sheriff's Office. The event on Saturday was meant to celebrate New York becoming the 15th state to legalize recreational marijuana use. Some attendees arrived at 3:30 and began scrawling graffiti using spray paint and spray chalk on the stone wall at the Government Plaza parking lot, prompting members of the Broome County Sheriff's Office to stop them. Everyone who was arrested was processed by the Broome County Sheriff's Office and released on appearance tickets to the City of Binghamton Court. Binghamton Police also arrested 6 others. So 14 individuals arrested at the Smoke Weed Outside the Binghamton Police Station event. A little unwieldy. All right, so the Big Ugly, and this is as it is affectionately known, which is the New York State budget. We mentioned housing, education, not touching foundation aid throughout the budget fight. Hochul pushed unsuccessfully to change the formula used for foundation aid, which determines how much state funding should go to each school district. Her proposed formula would have resulted in $454 million less in state education spending than planned and dispensed with the Save Harmless provision, which mandates the school districts can never receive less funding than they did the prior year. Those changes didn't make it into the budget, But Hochul isn't giving up entirely. In her Monday speech outlining the initial budget agreement, Hochul announced that the Rockefeller Institute of Government would work with the state education department to study the foundation aid formula. They'll track down where the money is going to waste and how we can get every student the resources they need to learn, to thrive, to succeed. Let's see, what else is there? Weaning off of natural gas, as you are well aware by now. New York's climate law requires the state to largely phase out fossil fuels by the year 2050. But an older law requires utilities to supply gas to any customer who wants it and subsidize the gas system's expansion. A landmark proposal to resolve the contradiction and wean the state off of gas, the New York Heat Act, was the biggest climate item on the budget table this year. Both the governor and Senate backed it. The Assembly did not. and National Fuel and Upstate Gas Utility lobbied heavily against it. It didn't make the final budget. Funding for clean water since 2017, New York has spent $500 million a year upgrading its drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. Okay, enough on that. Criminal justice. So how did we do on criminal justice? We know the governor is aware that this is a major issue with voters, but she can't really get anything done. Retail theft crackdown was a big issue. She won seemingly every item she proposed, meaning Governor Hochul. A policy list she virtually copied and pasted from her gun crime initiatives from previous year's budget. State budget bills will make assaulting a retail worker a felony and establish criminal penalties for knowingly fostering the sale of stolen items. They'll also allow authorities to charge people with felony grand larceny if they're alleged to have committed multiple thefts as part of a common scheme or plan, even if they weren't against the same retailer. Hochul also wants to create a state police unit dedicated to cracking down on retail theft. While this initiative isn't named in this year's budget, the final deal boosts the troopers' operational budget by over $50 million. New hate crimes. Hochul also managed to increase the number of offenses that can be categorized as hate crimes, automatically raising them to violent felony status. As a result of the elevated severity, people who are found guilty of these crimes may have years added to their sentence. The budget will add over 40 new offenses, including falsely reporting an incident, weapons possession infractions, and certain sex crimes to the list of eligible hate crimes. All right, drug policy. Let's talk about the drug policy. This is a good suggestion. Thank you to the viewer. An idea for a guest on your program. A representative from the Office of Veterans Affairs. There are numerous programs available to veterans on a day-to-day basis that all veterans may not be aware of. We've had a few representatives that goal was to help veterans, but you're right. I will try to reach out to the VA and see if we can get someone on the program. I'm sure they'd be happy to do it, and I'd be happy to have them on. So thank you for the suggestion. As always, you see the number on the bottom of your screen. You can contact me at any time. All right. Dispensaries. Let's talk about drug policy. After years of losing money to an unregulated black market, the state will arm local governments with new authority to crack down on illicit cannabis dispensaries. Cities and counties can now pass laws granting themselves broad discretion to close unregistered storefronts, seize their assets, and bring civil proceedings against the operators. Under current law, only the State Office of Cannabis Management and Department of Taxation and Finance can investigate and shut down unregistered dispensaries. While news reports say there were anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 illegal dispensaries, no one has an accurate estimate, according to the Office of Cannabis Management's Director of Enforcement. What's clear is that New York is hemorrhaging potential tax revenue from cannabis. In 2018, when legalization was first on the table, New York City's then comptroller, Scott Stringer, predicted that the state could reap up to $436 million in annual taxes from it. But Hochul's financial plan projected just $70 million in non-medical cannabis revenue over the past fiscal year. Hochul included a version of the measure in her January budget proposal, as had the Senate. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I know I'm going through this kind of quickly, but I wanted to pass along the information, if you were not aware, about the New York State budget, and it's how appropriate, as we had a viewer comment that they are now thinking of moving out of the area because of the high taxes. Appropriate time to discuss Albany's budget deal. The New York Post editorial board has a very interesting take on it. We're also going to talk about a little bit of the last-minute maneuvering, showing you just how dysfunctional Albany actually is. So stay with us. We got to take another short break. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When accidents happen, you want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappy's, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappy's Auto Body done right.
Welcome to Art of Your Home, made whole by Best Look Paint and Primer. With bold hues and subtle tones, transform any surface into a canvas of beauty and make your vision come to life effortlessly. And as the seasons change, trust Cabot.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And yes, in case you're curious, I did forget to shave this morning. Sorry. I've been looking at the camera hoping you couldn't notice. So the budget was passed on Saturday, so about 20 days late. Not too bad. The Big Ugly, the bill known in Albany as the Big Ugly, since it's crammed full of the budget's most debated issues, includes a short-term extension of mayoral control of the New York City school system, which has been in place since Michael Bloomberg was mayor in 2002. Remember? Anyway. The Big Ugly now sheds light on the details of the agreements which tenant advocates and landlords organizations have ripped as insufficient. We could talk about all that if you want. You get the idea. $237 billion. Now, the New York Times put together the 5 things you need to know about $237 billion. By the way, we are spending $2.4 billion to address the ongoing migrant crisis, and hundreds of millions of dollars to bolster distressed hospitals. But look at that, $2.4 billion to address the ongoing migrant crisis. Andrea Stewart Cousins, the Senate Majority Leader, called it an extremely eventful budget cycle. Now, how did the governor do? The New York Times asked. Well, for Governor Hochul, addressing the state's housing shortage was her top priority after she failed to pass a comprehensive plan last year. This session, she pushed through a proposal designed to increase housing stock by providing tax incentives for developers while protecting New York's existing tenants. The package offers a substantial new tax break to incentivize the construction of housing, which will include affordable units. In addition, the budget included a requirement for landlords to justify any rent increases above a certain threshold and to offer lease renewals in most cases. Governor Hochul also succeeded in shoehorning a number of criminal justice measures into the budget. One will enhance the state's response to retail theft, adding a state police unit and levying tougher penalties on people who attack shop workers. A tax credit will be made available to retailers who invest in security measures. The retail theft proposal was a high priority for the governor, but a source of great debate in the legislature, which eventually relented. Yes, if you recall, Hasty was opposed to increasing the penalties on attacking a shop worker. Again, at the time, I was saying I don't understand it. But Governor Hochul does see at least the political implications of not doing something. The budget also expands the state's definition of a hate crime in response to a number of incidents that have started since the Israel-Hamas war. Roughly 20 additional offenses can now be prosecuted as hate crimes. I mentioned that at the beginning. Now, did the far left get what it wanted? New York Times asks. Not really. According to the New York Times, the housing deal drew criticism from both sides of the debate, including tenants who decried the protections as not strong enough for the current market. We don't need to go through all that. Lawmakers were also frustrated that so-called individual apartment improvements were included in the budget. Progressive lawmakers managed to persuade their colleagues in the Assembly and the Senate to support raising personal income taxes by 0.5% for those who earn over $5 million until 2027. They said that such a move would increase revenue by nearly $1 billion per year, but the governor was clear in her opposition, calling the issue a non-starter for me. The proposal died, as did another legislature-supported bill to increase the state's corporate tax. What else didn't make the cut? Climate activists were disappointed that the budget was not used to address the environmental crisis. We don't need to go through all this. What's a budget without cannabis? Says the New York Times. Nearly since the moment New York legalized cannabis in 2021, the state has struggled to stifle the growth of the illicit market. Under this year's budget, key changes were instituted to the way cannabis is taxed and regulated in an effort to crack down on the city's illegal weed shops. The state will add more consequences for shop owners and landlords, facilitating the sale of untaxed cannabis, and give local governments new tools to shutter such businesses. Governor Hochul announced, all we have to do is verify that you're selling products not tested or labeled in accordance with our laws. She was clutching. I've got to say, and this is not mean just to be mean, her speaking style is kind of awkward, don't you think? Did you watch any of the announcement on the budget? It was a lot of times it's very hokey. Like in this case where she had a padlock as a prop. Once we do that, the padlock goes on immediately, she said. And what did she say about retail theft? Your days are numbered. Something like that is very, very awkward and choppy. The budget also includes a small but meaningful change to the way cannabis is taxed. Going forward, the complicated potency tax on cannabis will be replaced with a flat tax of 9%. So there's a quick overview. The New York Post editorial board, how am I doing on time? I'm doing good. Said once again, Albany's budget deal fully made good on its nickname, the Big Ugly. Locking in an uglier future for New York. This is coming from the New York Post. Governor Hochul can claim a few wins, but only at the cost of crucial concessions that will continue to drive the state's decline. She prevented new tax hikes, but the emergency one imposed early in the pandemic remains in place, apparently permanent now. She won modestly tougher treatment on retail theft and illegal pot shops without even trying to repair the larger criminal justice reforms that have crime locked in well above pre-COVID levels. She got New York City mayoral control renewed for another 2 years at the price of watering it down by giving the legislature the power to choose a new seat, the chairman of the city panel for educational policy. She pushed through a new, badly compromised version of the 421A tax break that's key to new housing construction in the city, and tiny fiddles to the 2019 rent reforms that are pushing thousands of units off the market entirely. Yeah, also okayed landmark new good cause rent controls for Gotham. Somewhere in the muddle, she also agreed to $4 billion in added spending. Yes, $4 billion more than she asked for. And to a rollback of vital public pension reforms that will cost taxpayers in the neighborhood of another $4 billion. Nor did she get her proposed school funding reforms. Districts with plummeting enrollment still get held harmless from state aid cuts, nor most of the push to rein in soaring Medicaid outlays. The final budget spending total, $237 billion for the year, more than a third higher than the final pre-pandemic budget, a huge spike in just 4 years. And the structural deficit, the amount the state will need to find cash to cover in coming years, is now about $16 billion. Plus, all this comes with zero transparency about the details, not even basic financial plan tables. so the public and independent experts can judge the true impact. Hochul may pat herself on the back for holding back some of progressive's worst excesses, but New York's lurch to the left continues. Albany is nowhere near even talking about anything that can build a brighter future. School choice, more charters, tax cuts, fracking, and so on. Madam Governor, when you identify some ways to make New York truly more attractive to the residents and businesses now fleeing the state and resolve to fight for them, come back to us. Yeah, I thought that was a really good point by the New York Post. When you look at this budget, just another reason why so many people are leaving the state, people leaving the state in droves. We had the comment from the viewer, if you're just joining us, who has now started their essentially 5-year plan, which is what a lot of people, a lot of New York residents have, which is, and I wish I still had that poll to show you the number, but it was a very high number of people that just have a plan to eventually move, maybe after they retire, move out of the state. It was dysfunctional, of course, in Albany. New York has a $237 billion state budget that is 3 weeks late. So yes, it's not about getting it on time, it's about getting it right. Well, it wasn't on time and we didn't get it right. So we'll talk about that when we come back, but I don't want to run too late. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
Put confidence, adventure, and accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day, pull off the toughest hauls, and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Golden and Missy face off in Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
I'm not feeling so good. Biohazard! Biohazard!
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6.
A beautiful morning here on Market Street as we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So New York has a $237 billion state budget that is 3 weeks late. Lawmakers added $4 billion in spending above what Governor Hochul proposed back in January. And everyone packed the budget with all sorts of non-budgetary stuff, as is usual. But at the last minute, lawmakers ditched one Hochul proposal, critical to small businesses, change a long dormant state law that's suddenly forcing companies to pay years' worth of extra back wages to workers. It may be obscure, but it's an apt illustration of Albany's dysfunction. In 1890, lawmakers decreed that mining, manufacturing, mercantile, and other companies should pay manual laborers every week. The purpose, as the legislature reiterated nearly half a century later, was to protect workers from companies that would disappear before paying out their wages. Until recently, most modern-day businesses, think retailers, not quarries, didn't think this law applied to them and paid their workers bi-weekly. But in 2019, an appeals court ruled that individuals, not just state regulators, could bring cases finding a construction firm had violated the law and paying every 2 weeks. The consequences, the court decreed, were startling. It ruled the construction firm would have to pay 100% of the late wages and damages. That is, for every week the worker was paid a week late. Under this interpretation, the worker would get an extra paycheck. And it turns out lots of workers suddenly fall under the definition of physical labor, people who stand up a quarter of the time and are paid less than $900 a week. Wow, this is all a little wonky, I understand. So anyway, sorry, a little bit too wonky this morning. Otherwise, it says here, and the law's purpose has changed. Why not change the law to explicitly require weekly pay for everyone paid hourly in the future, rather than leave it up to trial lawyers to select for the most lucrative past cases, and fix it by June, the end of session? Otherwise, more businesses will have to pay out on old claims, sacrificing future growth and future ability to hire people to pay massive penalties for past behaviors that didn't harm anyone. Did you see it's so bad in New York State when it comes to crime that a Home Depot in, where was this? I want to say it was around Rochester, maybe? New Rochelle. A New York Home Depot has deployed a guard dog, and other stores may be close behind, to protect shoppers from aggressive migrants and thieves flooding their parking lots. This is coming from the Post. Wow, we're getting a lot of waves coming. Thank you, everyone. 2 men wearing MSA security caps and bulletproof vests with a German Shepherd in tow patrolled the Home Depot in New Rochelle. It's more about being present, one guard said. It's not like we would let him bite anyone or anything. Well, don't give away your secrets. The guard said the store hired them for a number of reasons. It's not just because of migrants, but because of a myriad of other things, too, like people breaking into cars, that kind of stuff. The guard in New Rochelle lot was quiet and no migrants loitered there when the New York Post visited. However, 7 miles away in the Bronx, at least 30 male migrants hovered at the doors of Home Depot. Some were day laborers simply trying to shape for work with local contractors, but many others aggressively confronted shoppers, trying to sell them phony Apple AirPods or soliciting tips for lifting items from shopping carts into cars, even when uninvited. You come out and you're a woman by yourself, they literally leech onto your wagon, and you're like, no, I don't need any help. And when they're following you to your car, it's unnerving. She said a female supervisor saw one of the men washing himself, we'll say, with a water bottle in the lot, and then several women have called customer service to complain that migrants robbed them of purses or phones. She's seen the number of grifters in the lot swell as the migrant population in New York City explodes. So I thought it was more towards our way, but no, this is towards the city. I came to work one day and there had to be 100 guys out there. A regular customer at the store who asked not to be identified, but only as Cheryl, said she and her husband had a frightening encounter last month. A man practically runs over and he goes to point like, can I take this stuff? And my husband said, no, thank you. She recalled noting that only had a couple of boxes and a paint scraper. He still keeps following us, like right on top of us. I said, no, thank you. When her husband turned around to open the car door, the man put his hand on one of the boxes in the cart. My husband said, don't touch anything, but the man didn't stop. You don't have to go through this whole story, but obviously, this is what we're dealing with. We got some, okay, I'm going to take a break because we have a couple of comments coming in. I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to read them. Well, instead of incentivizing illegals to provide voters to the left, perhaps there needs to be a broad incentive campaign aimed to keep natives and bring new people into government. The Albany dysfunction is a symptom of a Herculean problem that needs to be a major action movement of revival instead of fleeing like a dictatorship. Thank you for the comment. Keep those comments coming in. So we haven't even talked about this. I know we're talking about the budget. It's a big issue. It passed on Saturday, though, so it's a little bit of old news, but I wanted to kind of put it all together for you. But now we're going to talk about Columbia when we come back. New anti-Israel tent city takes over Columbia University. Days after the NYPD raid that we brought to you last week, these protesters vow to stay, and I quote, forever. A massive new anti-Israel tent city took over Columbia University on Sunday, just days after an NYPD raid cleared another intrusive encampment there and cuffed more than 100 protesters. I think it was 108. So we'll talk about that when we come back. We do got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
We were wasting so much money. The Koala team made the whole process so easy, and we saw savings on our very first bill.
The inspection was really eye-opening.
It's a great feeling knowing that we're truly energy efficient.
Now we're finally properly insulated.
Koala is a first-class company all the way.
It's time you discover Koala Insulation.
Hi, I'm Darren with Koala Insulation of Southern Tier. Give us a call. We are fully insured and we offer veteran and military discounts.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. Thanks so much for joining us. So we're talking about Columbia University and the anti-Israel tent city that has been set up. We are looking for our demands, and we are going to continue that, said one protester. We are here forever. We're here as long as it takes till Columbia meets our demands. This is typical of protests on college campuses, these list of demands. It'll be interesting to see what is in that list. This has been going on for 5 days. This is day 5, the rallier said. There are people sleeping here. We eat our meals here. The people who are fortunate enough to not have gotten suspended, they also go home to get more materials. We have runners. They are grabbing us stuff and being very supportive. We have an entire community here that's willing to help us. This is a community. It's camaraderie. Speeches were also being made about the investment around this protester, and chanting could be heard elsewhere. Anti-Israel students previously took over part of the campus last week, as you know. One of the organizers had made an announcement that there have been negotiations with administration, and they had explicitly said that you can set up your tents and there will not be any sweeps. I think they said for the next week. But a university rep told the Post the same day that students do not have permission to set up tents on the lawn. Those who do are in violation of long-standing university policy and will be identified and subjected to disciplinary action. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the dean, the president of Columbia, will take a strong stance. She had that somewhat bad interaction in Congress, and the next day she had the sweep to show that she was tough. But now it looks as if administration may be caving. The idea that we're going to stay until they make the financial divestment demand, for me, it's kind of concerning that they're saying we'll let the Tets be here, because it's kind of reduces the sway that we have of them not wanting us to be here. We want to be under their skin. We want to be doing something they don't want us to do. Her parents told her, "Don't get arrested, but if you do, we'll bail you out," Molly said, who slept in a sleeping bag before the tents were set up. She said hundreds of protesters are taking shifts, staying and sleeping at the encampment even during the crush of finals week. We're trying to get more work done when we can because we all have a bunch of essays to write. This week is the last week of class. It's been kind of difficult to keep up with the demands of schoolwork right now, but this is such a historic time on Columbia's campus, Molly said. Asked if students would have the option of virtual classes, a school source said guidance had been handed down, saying all schools and programs should permit the option of remote learning and, when possible, assessment to students who are seeking academic accommodations due to campus activity for either religious reasons or other approved disability accommodation reasons. Now, a Columbia rabbi it's gotten so bad in Columbia, warned Jewish students to go home, don't come back to campus because of extreme anti-Semitism. Wow. The dire situation followed yet another night of anti-Israel protests. The events of the last few days, especially last night, have made it clear that Columbia University's public safety and the NYPD cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy, said Rabbi Eli Buchler. It deeply pains me to say that I would strongly recommend you return home as soon as possible and remain home until the reality in and around campus has dramatically improved. It is not our job as Jews to ensure our own safety on campus. No one should have to endure this level of hatred, let alone at a school. And this is, unfortunately, is getting more typical, this anti-Semitism. It's one of the reasons why Biden has softened his stance on Israel, because he's worried about the vote. Now, I did see that the White House released a statement on this. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Mayor Adams said in a statement, "I'm horrified and disgusted with this anti-Semitism being spewed at and around the Columbia University campus. Like the example of a young woman holding a sign with an arrow pointing to Jewish students stating Al-Qassam's next targets, or another where a woman is literally yelling, 'We are Hamas,' or another where groups of students are chanting, 'We don't want no Zionists here.' And I condemn this hate speech in the strongest of terms. Hate has no place in our city. I've instructed the NYPD to investigate any violation of the law they receive a report about and will arrest anyone found breaking the law." Now we're going to talk about what the White House had to say. Yeah, I was just wondering if they would treat it the same if this was a KKK campaign. I really don't see a difference. You're still singling out a group of people. Yes, it's racist. I mean, the rhetoric that they're using is despicable. And we don't have to go through the whole history here of what's been happening at Columbia. House GOP conference chairwoman Elise Stefanik, who grilled Columbia's president this week, well, it would have been last week, agreed Sunday that things clearly lost campus. That things clearly lost control on campus. Over the past few months, and especially in the last 24 hours, Columbia's leadership has clearly this is worded so strange. Leadership has clearly lost control of its campus, putting Jewish students' safety at risk. It is crystal clear that Columbia University, previously a beacon of academic excellence founded by Alexander Hamilton, needs new leadership. President Shafik must immediately resign, and the Columbia board must appoint a president who protects Jewish students and enforce school policies. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this. How am I doing on time? Boy, show's going quick this morning. We have so much to talk about. I didn't know I would spend so much time on the New York State budget, but what did you think of the budget? Any surprises? $237 billion. Now, as I said, the numerous rabbis have called for Jewish students to, quote, return home, and that's how CNN puts it. Columbia University faces full-blown crisis as a rabbi calls for Jewish students to return home. That's from CNN. Columbia University is facing a full-blown crisis heading into Passover as a rabbi linked to the Ivy League school urged Jewish students to stay home. Intense confrontations on campus sparked condemnation from the White House, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. The atmosphere is so charged that Columbia officials announced students can attend classes and even possibly take exams virtually starting today, the first day of Passover. Tensions at Columbia and many universities have been high ever since the October 7th terrorist attack on Israel by Hamas. However, the situation at Columbia escalated in recent days after university officials testified before Congress last week about anti-Semitism on campus and pro-Palestinian protests on and near campus surged. Representative Virginia Fox, Republican chair of the House Education Committee, sent a letter on Sunday to university leaders warning them of consequences if they do not rein in protests on campus. Columbia's continued failure to restore order and safety promptly to campus constitutes a major breach of the university's Title 11 obligations, upon which federal financial assistance is contingent and which must immediately be rectified. And I mentioned Rabbi Eli Buchler. The rabbi was on Jake Tapper saying about 300 mostly Orthodox Jewish students strongly recommend they return home and remain there. In the message, Buechler wrote that the recent events at the university have made it clear that Columbia University's public safety and the NYPD cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety. It deeply pains me to say, I would strongly recommend you return home as soon as possible and remain home until the reality in and around campus has dramatically improved. Again, we're going to talk about what the White House had to say over this. Governor Hochul said that threatening Jewish students with violence is anti-Semitism. The First Amendment protects the right to protest, but students also have a right to learn in an environment free from harassment or violence. Some of the language that's being used, it's sick. I'm personally extremely disturbed by the use of the police to disrupt the encampment, said one Columbia Law School student. It was a mistake by the university. It made me more supportive of the encampment and what it represents about free speech. He contrasted the pretty peaceful environment on campus with the more energized demonstrations outside campus, referencing deeply disheartening incidents that took place Saturday night outside campus by people Emery said were not affiliated with the university. He added that some more observant Jewish friends of his had experienced harassment, but the Jewish students should feel safe on campus, especially during the day. I'm never really worried about anything getting out of hand. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
You just have to get in the seat of a John Deere 3 Series tractor. Not because of the powerful implements, or because of our unmatched dealer support. Not even because it's in it for the long haul. You just have to get in the seat because being this efficient just feels good.
Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on a John Deere 1, 2, or 3 Series compact tractor.
Friends have been telling friends about Colonial Penn Guaranteed Acceptance Whole Life Insurance for more than 50 years, and with good reason. If you're between the age of 50 and 85, it's a sure thing. Your acceptance is guaranteed because full benefits are not paid in the first 2 years. And the price? Options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. With Colonial Penn, your rate is another sure thing. It will never increase. And you should know this coverage can last a lifetime.
Call today, 1-800-475-1050.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, wrapping up our first hour as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. So the White House did condemn the, quote, blatantly anti-Semitic protests at Columbia University. While every American has the right to peaceful protests, calls for violence and physical intimidation targeting Jewish students and the Jewish community are blatantly anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. They have absolutely no place on any college campus or anywhere in the United States, White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates said. And echoing the rhetoric of terrorist organizations, especially in the wake of the worst massacre committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, is despicable. We condemn these statements in the strongest terms. Now, protesters have called for the death of Benjamin Netanyahu. One Jewish Columbia University student was even told to kill himself and repeatedly kicked in the stomach during the protests. Tensions continue to build, and we know about the 108 people that were arrested on, I believe that was Thursday. We mentioned that on the program. The president, Shafik, has yet to personally condemn the protests as anger continues to grow over her lack of response. Billionaire Bill Ackman posted about the protests, saying, how would Columbia respond if the students took over campuses in support of the KKK and called for this genocide of other ethnic minorities? Would Columbia continue to support the demonstrations on the basis of a commitment to free speech, or would the university's code of conduct suddenly have operating impact? That's a good point, very much like our viewers' comment as well. According to a statement from the new school, President Donna Shalala spoke with the students to resolve the situation and has agreed to set up a meeting on Monday with Mark Diaz, the Executive Vice President for Business and Operations, as well as designated members of the student group who wants to discuss the interest in divesting from certain holdings within the university's endowment. So it's starting to seem like, and I could be wrong, but there's a couple of moving pieces here. Normally when they have a list of demands, protesters, they're outlandish. They're not even obtainable in many instances. So if they go that route, we can see a no coming. But if they say divest, I could see the administration caving because the president has been very quiet. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. As mentioned, the rabbi is suggesting that Jewish students stay home. We got a couple comments coming in. How am I doing on time? Wow, it's hard to believe this hour, frankly speaking, is already over. I love the 2-hour format. Thank you to everybody for reaching out. We've got some comments that we'll read at the top of the hour. As always, if you're new to the show and you're not familiar, what we do is we take, instead of taking your calls like in the old radio days, we have you text or leave a voicemail, and I can't always get to all of them, try to read your comments on the air, and I always appreciate the back and forth conversations that we have, so thank you for doing that. Again, the number on the bottom of your screen, 607-358-3131. We've got to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Columbia University. We'll talk a little bit here about Joe Biden. What do you think about Mike Johnson? Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is demanding Mike Johnson resign, saying it was complete betrayal. So you can weigh on. I always say we're going to talk about Mike Johnson. We never really do talk that much about him. I understand. But Kevin McCarthy blaming basically all the world's problems on Matt Gaetz. We'll talk about that as well. A few things here. Looks like the House is going, the House passes the possible TikTok ban in the U.S. We'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. Just trying to look through all the things that we have to talk about. But we are running late, so stay with us. This is, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Big baseball on Fox.
Hey, what I'm doing, getting right to it. Money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live, you don't believe it, just watch.
Jaw-dropping stuff. Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
And we are back. Hour number 2. I apologize for the black screen. Little technical difficulty. I know what the issue is, though, so we'll try to get that fixed for tomorrow's show. So campuses, pro-Palestine protesters, it's anti-Israel is what it is, ignore they're enabling a new Holocaust, according to the Post editorial board. As Columbia kids continue their pro-Hamas protests, we have to wonder if they've even thought about what they actually want. Consider their fellow traveler, USC valedictorian Asna Tabassum, and her telling plea after getting nixed as a commencement speaker thanks to her social media post linking to blatantly anti-Semitic content. When it comes to abolishing the state of Israel, I do want to point out that the very next sentence that talks about the peaceful coexistence of Arabs and Jews, she told the ABC News. And when it comes to abolishing the state of Israel, I will say I want to abolish apartheid. I'm not committing to a one-state or two-state solution. How sweet. She obviously wants Israel wiped off the map, but is savvy enough not to say so. Abolish apartheid means Jews would be vastly outnumbered in whatever state takes the place of Israel. And every poll shows that the Arabs of Gaza and the West Bank have zero interest in sharing a country with Jews. Nor does either Palestinian area remotely respect gay rights, freedom of religion, or other basic rights. So her "I'm committed to human equality and human rights" makes no sense next to her actual demands. No, just like Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, her actual agenda amounts to genocide of the region's Jews. But slightly hiding that aim is enough to recruit an army of useful idiot college students who imagine they're fighting against settler colonialism and white supremacy and can't be bothered to think through how this merely masks a second Holocaust. Protests, it seems, is just too thrilling to leave any time for critical thinking. Yes, it seems to be a party-like atmosphere. Yes, by the way, thank you for the comment, the black screen. Yep, the break came up a little short. I think there was an error in one of the ads. So I appreciate you pointing that out, but I am aware of it, and we'll hopefully be back on track on tomorrow's program. Kind of piggybacking off of this, John Bolton, Dennis Miller used to call him the nuclear walrus. John Bolton has, I think, a pretty interesting piece here at the New York Post. It said, Biden gave Iran yet another win by pressing Israel to go easy on the terrorist state. So we're going to talk about that. But I just, before I completely move on from Columbia University, it is interesting to me. It's heartbreaking, but it's interesting to me the anti-Semitism that has taken over on college campuses. It really came to light after October 7th, didn't it? We even had issues down the road in Cornell. But for whatever reason, they must smell weakness, these Columbia students, because they're pushing hard for these demands. Now, I have not seen a list of the demands, but they must think administration is going to cave. Getting back to the tent city just a day after 108 people were arrested, showing that they're not concerned about the arrest, not concerned about what administration is saying or the White House is saying or Mayor Adams or Governor Hochul. Because fighting for anti-Semitism, anti-Israel sentiment is, I guess that's the new thing to do. Now, you wonder what this will do for their future employment. Maybe they're not concerned about that, but they should be. But it's just another example of why so many people talk about maybe not spending that $90,000 a year on tuition and maybe going into the trades. So just interesting that we're seeing more and more of this, and the grown-ups, quote-unquote grown-ups in the room, not sure how to address it. So you can weigh in on that. Thank you to everybody who sends out comments. We'll try to get to some of those in just a little bit. But what John Bolton says, with Israel facing overwhelming pressure from Biden, its Friday retaliation against Iran was an exercise in minimalism. Jerusalem did cross one important Iranian red line, at whose mere mention the Biden administration has quieted. Netanyahu's war cabinet authorized an overt attack against a target on the soil of Iran, which Israel had previously attacked only covertly. Point therefore made, albeit one that should have been made many years ago. Beyond that, there is little to celebrate. Jerusalem, they talk about the attacks. It is frivolous to say, as some do, that Israel has established escalation dominance over Iran, having struck the first and last blows. In fact, the parties exchanged a few glancing blows with no material change in their capabilities. Nonetheless, there were winners and losers from the exchange. Consider these. Biggest winner. Beyond dispute, Biden wears the largest smile. His administration having all but broken Netanyahu's arm to force Israel's limp reaction. The White House did not operate on a strategic plane here, except for demonstrating yet again its limitless deference to Iran. Instead, the administration was playing domestic American politics and achieved two potentially critical objectives. By saving Iran from a meaningful Israeli response, Biden has at least postponed the prospect of further increases in international oil prices and their inevitable consequences of increasing gasoline's price at the pump in the United States. And Biden forestalled intensified criticism from progressive Democrats who oppose his Middle East policies, such as they are, and could sink his prospects in November merely by staying home in key states like Michigan and Nevada. Second biggest winner was Iran's supreme leader, al-Khamenei, and his regime literally dodged the bullets that Israel never fired. The mullahs carefully watch Biden make Israel knuckle under, and they will not hesitate to exploit that lesson militarily and diplomatically as the ring of fire strategy continues unfolding. Their near theological hold on Biden's administration, as on Barack Obama's, continues to thrive, and Khamenei and his advisors sense the palatable political fear emanating from the White House. More than 6 months into the current war against the, quote, little Satan, Iran has still suffered no measurable damage on its home turf. In the psychological warfare contest with America, it is unfortunately Iran that has escalating dominance. Biggest losers, the security of the American and Israeli people suffered the most. This is, if you're just joining us, this is according to John Bolton. Biden muscled Israel's war cabinet, but bent his knee to our mutual adversaries in Iran, revealing by his unforced error crippling weakness in the White House. On one hand, he was dismayed by Israel's successful April 1st attack in Damascus. On the other, he asserted embarrassingly that just staying alive after Iran's missile and drone barrage was an Israeli win, requiring Jerusalem to rest on its laurels and not retaliate. Yes, and we heard from John Kirby, who said at the time, well, I know Biden said don't, and they did, but they didn't really because it wasn't successful. Think of it another way, he said. They didn't. Okay. Our global adversaries, especially Moscow and Beijing, must have marveled at Biden's position, which sadly rises to the level of Lenin's scorn for useful idiots, and the basis of Biden's overconfidence may well be wrong. Israeli and U.S. missile defenses were not as fully tested as first thought, largely unnoticed. The Wall Street Journal and CBS report that half of Iran's 120 ballistic missiles failed, either at liftoff or before being shot down. If true, out of 320 Iranian projectiles, Israel's missile defense faced only around 60 ballistic missiles plus 30 cruise missiles and 170 much slower drones. Iran's failures do not detract from Israel's missile defense success, including Jordanian and Saudi participation. They do, however, underscore that if Iran launches more properly functioning missiles next time, we may not be so successful. And the irony is heavy. Biden strongly opposed George W. Bush's 2002 withdrawal from the 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missiles Treaty, which opened the floodgates of knowledge on all types of missile defenses, bearing fruit today. Washington is reportedly readying sanctions against an Israeli army battalion for alleged human rights violation. If true, this news reveals Joe Biden's real direction. So much for restraint. Now, John Bolton was the National Security Advisor under Trump from 2018 to 2019 and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations 2005 to 2006. I thought that was an important piece by John Bolton. I don't always see eye to eye with John Bolton, but I thought that was some interesting information. Now, there is a satellite image that shows the Israeli missile destruction at the Iranian base near the nuke site. You can find that for yourself at the New York Post. Iran International, an opposition news outlet, posted images Sunday that appears to show the charred remains of an anti-aircraft mobile radar station that once stood at this airbase, which is tasked with protecting the nuke site. All right, I know we're going through a lot here this morning. Stay with us. We got to take our first break of the second hour of Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to comment on any of the issues of the day, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Stay with us.
Hi, and welcome everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that we have agents standing by right now to answer your legal questions. So if you've been injured in an accident, it was not your fault. Call now. Find out if you have a case and how much is potentially worth. I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin. So Tom, tell everyone watching at home who should call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the studio. Now, as far as who should call in, the answer is anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault should give us a call right now. Agents are standing by to answer any questions you may have and tell you how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. So what kind of calls are we seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls about all types of accidents, but the most common has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, take that first step and give us a call. We'll answer your questions and you'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. Call now.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back. I'm aware of the little technical issue there, but thank you for sticking with us here on Frankly Speaking. I mentioned just in passing, the House did pass the possible TikTok ban in the U.S. The House passed legislation on Saturday that would ban TikTok in the United States if the popular social media platform China-based owner doesn't sell its stake within a year, but don't expect the app to go away anytime soon. The decision by the House Republicans to include TikTok as part of a larger foreign aid package, a priority for President Biden, with broad congressional support for Israel and Ukraine, fast-tracked the ban after an earlier version had stalled in the House. A standalone bill with a shorter 6-month selling deadline passed the House in March by an overwhelming bipartisan vote as both Democrats and Republicans voiced national security concerns about the app's owner. So the modified measure passed by a 360 to 58 vote. Now goes to the Senate after negotiations that lengthen the timeline for the company to sell to 9 months, with a possible additional 3 months if the sale is in progress. Legal challenges could extend the time frame even further. The company has indicated that it would likely go to court to try to block the law if it passes, arguing it would deprive the app's millions of users of their First Amendment right. So your thoughts on that TikTok ban? Okay. What else? Oh, got a comment from a viewer. I heard again that Trump is spreading hatred when he says other countries are emptying their jails, then sending them and any other people that they don't want in their country to America. They said that the illegal immigrants are mostly good people looking for a better life or not to be prosecuted. Or not to be persecuted, excuse me. If they were mostly good people, and since all countries need people in their country to work and help the country flourish, why are all the countries saying that they won't accept any of them back? Good question. Thank you very much. Keep those comments coming in. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling on Johnson to resign. If he doesn't do so, he will be vacated, said Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, pretty strong stance. Mike Johnson's speakership is over. He needs to do the right thing and resign and allow us to move forward in a controlled process. If he doesn't do so, he will be vacated. After months of resisting putting a foreign aid bill on the House floor, Johnson joined with Democrats on Saturday to advance a $95 billion foreign aid package, which contains $61 billion for Ukraine and regional partners. The legislation, which passed with the support of 210 Democrats and 101 Republicans, now heads to the Senate, which is expected to give final approval this week. Should Green and her supporters make good on their threat to force a vote on ousting him as Speaker, Johnson will almost certainly need to rely on Democrats to bail him out. They're saying, and I don't know if I disagree in a way, that Hakeem Jeffries is sort of the shadow speaker. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I can't find exactly where I put that piece, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the at least three Republicans who have said that they will support a move to oust Johnson, whose majority is so slim he cannot afford to lose any Republicans on a party line vote. Johnson maintains that he has not asked any Democrat for their help, but senior Republicans believe they will be able to count on support across the aisle to swiftly kill any motion to vacate the Speaker's chair, a feeling that may have bolstered Johnson's confidence in pressing ahead with his plans. Now, it is unclear whether Democrats will throw him a lifeline. That's important to note. But they have expressed a willingness to save Johnson, especially after he defied his right flank to move ahead with a foreign aid package that closely resembles a Senate-passed version. Representative Ro Khanna said that he would vote against the motion to remove Johnson from the speakership. I'm a progressive Democrat, and I think you would have a few progressive Democrats doing that. I disagree with Speaker Johnson on many issues. I've been very critical of him, but he did the right thing here, and he deserves to keep his job till the end of his term. Not everything in politics needs to be transactional. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene said, all of this was possible because of the betrayals of Mike Johnson. Now, Mike Johnson said, I have a job to do. I'm done here and what I believe to be the right thing to allow the House to work its will. And as I've said, you do the right thing and you let the chips fall where they may. So calling it, do you believe it was a complete betrayal? That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying. Now, I know last week we had a really good conversation back and forth with many people, many different opinions on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I posed that question last week, and I'll pose it again today if you're curious, if you want to weigh in. What do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene, that this is a good move for Marjorie Taylor Greene? Do you think this is good for the party as we head into November? I'm going to be honest, I don't like the coverage and how that's been used against Republicans, and in a way, like I said earlier, and this is from Axios, which is a far-left organization, but Hakeem Jeffries emerges as Congress's shadow speaker. It was he, not the House Speaker, who had the ultimate power to decide whether legislation came to the floor. Democrats got everything they wanted: a $95 billion foreign aid bill, the credit for passing it, and adversaries more divided than ever. In their telling, the total victory wasn't a sure thing. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a master legislative tactician, heaped praise on her successor. He is fabulous. We're so proud of him. One senior House Democrat told Axios that easily could have fallen apart. He played the cards the way you want to play them. I would not want to play blackjack against him, the lawmaker added. Democrats did something virtually unheard of in modern politics on Thursday, crossing the aisle on the House Rules Committee to save the foreign aid package. They did it again the next day on the House floor. This was all Jeffries' call, as was Democrats' decision to wait until it was clear House Speaker Mike Johnson didn't have the votes on his own before saving the package on the floor. We wouldn't be voting on this right now if it weren't for Hakeem. He's the one who created the system that Johnson could follow and get this done. Here's a comment. Just like Liz Cheney, Marjorie Taylor Greene is quickly becoming liked by Democrats and legacy media, whether she wants to be or not. Yeah, that's one of the biggest issues that I have. The media loves this. They love talking about the dysfunction, the chaos. I don't think it's good as we head into November, this kind of dysfunction. But I'll continue. So everybody's giving Hakeem Jeffries the credit on this. It's interesting. Democrat leadership has already been forging the unified front that would be Jeffries' strongest weapon for weeks, with a push to get as many signatures as possible on the foreign aid bill. Jeffries himself sat down with centrist Jared Golden, a skeptic of single-party discharge petitions, to get him to sign it, and it worked. House Democrats told Axios that the foreign aid fight revealed a deafness in Jeffries, both in public and in closed-door negotiations, that make him well-suited for speakership. Representative Don Beyer said Hakeem has been very graceful. He's not purposefully thrown Johnson under the bus. He's not been triumphant at all. He realizes how bad that would be for Mike Johnson. It's a lesson well learned from previous speakers. He finessed it well when he had to. Many Democrats also told Axios they don't anticipate Jeffries facing the type of revolts from his left flank that Johnson has seen from his right on the motion to vacate and procedural votes. I know this is all a little wonky. I apologize, folks, but I think it's worth mentioning this morning. So what do you think? What are Mike Johnson's chances here after he completely betrayed, that's according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, betrayed everyone, I guess. Greene lashed out after she and a group of far-right Republican rebels were thwarted in a plan to derail a House aid package that included $60.8 billion to help Ukraine defend itself from Russia. The row earned her the nickname Moscow Marjorie. Mike Johnson's speakership is over, Moscow Marjorie said. He needs to do the right thing to resign and allow us to move forward in a controlled process. If he doesn't do so, he will be vacated. It's coming regardless of what Mike Johnson decides to do. She asked if she was going to file that motion at some point. Greene first filed a motion to vacate in March, but it wasn't privileged, meaning it didn't mandate a vote. Despite her well-worn threats, the Georgia Republican, didn't force a vote Saturday after the House passed the Ukraine aid package, insisting that she wanted her fellow lawmakers to take some time with their constituents during this week's recess to think it over. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Sorry, tongue-tied this morning. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Is it time for your next oil change? Are you too busy to do it yourself? Let the professionals at Quick Lube do it for you. With 2 locations better to serve you, Quick Lube makes it easy. Get your oil and filter changed and never leave the comfort of your vehicle. No appointment is needed. Just drive up and let Quick Lube do the rest. Keep your motor humming with Quick Lube on South Main Street in Elmira and Chemung Street in Horsehead.
Friends have been friends about Colonial Penn guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance for more than 50 years, and with good reason. If you're between the age of 50 and 85, it's a sure thing. Your acceptance is guaranteed because full benefits are not paid in the first 2 years. And the price? Options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. With Colonial Penn, your rate is another sure thing. It will never increase. And you should know this coverage can last a lifetime.
Call today, 1-800-475-1050.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I would love to hear your opinion. Do you think this is a good thing, Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for Mike Johnson's resignation because of the quote-unquote complete betrayal. I've been responsible with this the entire time. I support our majority, and I support having our majority in 2025, Green stressed. At the moment, Green is backed by two others, at least publicly, Thomas Massey and Representative Paul Gozer. Green previously criticized and opposed Matt Gaetz's crusade to oust former Speaker McCarthy last October. She raged against Johnson, who she accused of a complete betrayal on a litany of issues, including Ukraine, border security, and government spending. All of this was possible because of the betrayal of Mike Johnson. He has completely betrayed the Republican Party. He has completely betrayed Republican voters all over the country. And he is absolutely working for the Democrats, passing the Biden administration agenda. This is a speakership that is completely over with. So I'd be curious your thought on this. Is this a couple questions. Is this good, what Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing? One. Two, are you happy, mad? What's your opinion on the vote and what Mike Johnson did? I'd be curious to know. Green said, Mike Johnson has betrayed America. She contended that folks are outraged and don't want to vote Republicans because they feel the Republican Party in charge right now is no different than the Democrat Party. She stressed that the average American is fed up with the uniparty and that the GOP needs to start reflecting the will of their voters. Those that are calling this drama are the very people that are responsible for the drama that the American people are having to live through every single day. Green refrained from outlining a specific timeline for when she may bring up a motion. Johnson has spurned calls for his resignation. My philosophy is you do the right thing and you let the chips fall where they may, Johnson responded. History judges us for what we do. This is a critical time right now, a critical time on the world stage. Johnson has also vented that many of the most ardent critics among House Republicans have declined to sit in on classified briefings about Ukraine. So, again, I'd love to hear your opinion now. Kevin McCarthy said that Matt Gaetz broke the Republican majority. This was on, where was it? On Media Buzz, on Fox News. I think they're in disarray, meaning the Republicans. But it stems from those 8 Republicans working with all the Democrats. If there's no consequences, the Gaetz 8, but they work with all the Democrats to decide who could be Speaker. And since then, what has transpired? So the conference is broken because they never dealt with those 8. And until they do, it would stay broken. But to Marjorie Taylor Greene's point is, didn't do what Matt Gaetz did. She didn't make this privilege. She's making it an issue for a debate now. Now I think they should keep it internal. They should have their discussion. Look, being Speaker is not easy. Otherwise, maybe I'd still be there. What Matt Gaetz did has broken the Republican majority. He now created Lord of the Flies. Ask anybody inside our conference. They actually know it. So what are your thoughts? You got the Matt Gaetz. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene. I would love to hear your opinion on it. All right, we got a lot to talk about. I'm just trying to think of where we go to next. Did you see over the weekend, or was it Friday, the guy that lit himself on fire outside the Trump hush money trial? That guy, Max Azzarello, has died after setting himself on fire in a Manhattan park. He once worked, this is just weird, he once worked for Long Island Congressman Tom Suozzi. Isn't that interesting? Max Azzarello worked on my campaign for Nassau County Executive in 2013 as part of the field staff. Even though I haven't seen or talked to Max since then, I recall him being very kind, smart, and hardworking. It is tragic that he has succumbed to his injuries. I'm keeping Max and his family in my prayers. Azzarello listed himself as operations manager for a few months of the Democrats' campaign in 2013. He did not work for Suozzi at any other time. Before he set himself on fire, Azzarello's most recent job has been as a well-paid consultant for Salesforce. He quit the gig last year and seemed to spiral down into a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. The self-described investigative researcher traveled to New York City in recent days from Florida without his family knowing and had been protesting in front of the courthouse where he bashed political leaders from both sides of the aisle. This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. We are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup, he wrote in his manifesto. Yeah, just a weird story. Okay, we got a comment. Marjorie Taylor Greene should be going after other Republicans that voted for the budget. Good point. Yeah, what do you think? Is this a good thing? Do you feel that Johnson betrayed Republicans? Please feel free to weigh in at any time. We got a short break coming up here. I'm just trying to think of where Trump's trial does continue today. Opening arguments to begin as Trump flouts gag order and attorney previews the defense. So that'll be wall-to-wall coverage this morning, as you can imagine, on all the outlets. It will be very focused on in the media, to say the least. Miranda Devine, do I want to get to this piece? No, I don't want to get to this piece yet. Election interest, according to a poll from NBC News, election interest has hit a new low in the Biden-Trump race. The share of voters, and now keep in mind, now Trump, because of that hush money trial, he will not be able to campaign like usual. But the share of voters who say they have high interest in the 2024 election has hit a nearly 20-year low at this point in a presidential race. The poll also shows Biden trimming Trump's previous lead to just 2 points in a head-to-head contest, an improvement within the margin of error compared to the previous survey, as Biden bests Trump on the issue of abortion and uniting the country, while Trump is ahead on competency and dealing with inflation. And it finds inflation and immigration topping the list of most important issues facing the country, as just 1/3 of voters give Biden credit for an improving economy. But what also stands out in the survey is how, and they're starting to push this again, is how low voter interest in the independent candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could scramble what has been a stable presidential contest with more than 6 months until Election Day. While Trump holds a 2-point edge over Biden head-to-head, Biden leads Trump by 2 points in a 5-way ballot test, including Kennedy and the other party candidates. And that's a new theme that they've been bringing up. I saw it on the news yesterday, that now they believe, and I don't know if I believe this, but Robert F. Kennedy would actually hurt Trump. Oh, we got a couple waves coming in. Sorry about that. Lay down my waves. Yes, now they're suggesting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would hurt Trump. Devin Fletcher, who participated in the poll, said, "I don't think Biden has done much as president. And if Trump gets elected, I just feel like it's going to be the same thing as it was before Biden got elected. I just don't feel like I have a candidate that I'm excited to vote for. Our candidates are horrible. I have no interest in voting for Biden. He did nothing, and I absolutely will not vote for Trump," said another person polled. I know we're going through a lot of quick things here, but immigration and inflation on the top of the list. Well, if those are the number one and number two, there's a clear standout on who could do better with that. That would be Trump. We know that Biden, day one, essentially, at least week one, erasing all the hard work at the border that Trump had an executive order on and created what we see now, an open, porous border. So we can talk about that if you want when we come back, but I've got to take a short break. We're breezing right along here, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Kuntz Sit and Sleep in Corning. Hey, did you know that Kuntz has been in business since 1955? Wow, that's going on 70 years. And did you know that Kuntz is still family owned and operated? Really? That's 3 generations. Way to go, Steve. Did you also know that their salespeople are non-commissioned and they offer delivery and financing? That's awesome. So why do they want you to shop and compare then? Because they are confident that you won't find a better deal.
Guaranteed.
Kuntz Sit and Sleep in Corning.
Shop and compare.
Hi, and welcome everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that we have agents standing by right now to answer your legal questions. So if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, call now. Find out if you have a case and how much is potentially worth. I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin. So Tom, tell everyone watching at home who should call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the studio. Now, as far as who should call in, the answer is anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault should give us a call right now. Agents are standing by to answer any questions you may have and tell you how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. So what kind of calls are we seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls about all types of accidents, but the most common has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, take that first step and give us a call. We'll answer your questions, and you'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. Call now.
Major League Baseball on Fox.
What I'm doing, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live, you don't believe it, just watch.
Jaw-dropping stuff.
Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
We are back with Frankly Speaking. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a issue. You know what? I'm going to take another short break, folks, because I'm having problems with my headphones. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Coons Sit and Sleep in Corning. Hey, did you know that Coons has been in business since 1955? Wow, that's going on 70 years. And did you know that Coons is still family owned and operated? Really? That's 3 generations. Way to go, Steve. Did you also know that their salespeople are non-commissioned and they offer delivery and financing? That's awesome. So why do they want you to shop and compare then? Because they are confident that you won't find a better deal.
Guaranteed.
Coons Sit and Sleep in Corning.
Shop and compare.
Hi, and welcome everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that we have agents standing by right now to answer your legal questions. So if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, call now. Find out if you have a case and how much is potentially worth. I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin. So Tom, tell everyone watching at home who should call right now.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the studio. Now, as far as who should call in, the answer is anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault should give us a call right now. Agents are standing by to answer any questions you may have and tell you how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. So what kind of calls are we seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls about all types of accidents, but the most common has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, take that first step and give us a call. We'll answer your questions, and you'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. Call now.
Major League Baseball on Fox.
What I'm doing, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live, you don't believe it, just watch.
Jaw-dropping stuff.
Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Sorry about that extra break. I had a little technical difficulty having issues with my headphones. Hey, a couple breaking stories though. Well, I took that extra break. Police clad with riot gear started swarming Yale University's Connecticut campus early this morning, where hundreds of students have been staging an anti-Israel protest. So this is in Columbia, this is at Yale. Footage posted online showed cops arriving at the Ivy League school and blocking off entrances to a plaza at the New Haven campus where roughly 200 protesters were gathered. Cops have started warning protesters they risk being arrested if they don't clear out. And we saw this at Columbia too. It's actually a nice way to do it, I suppose. The police will come and say, "Are you going to leave?" If they say no, then they cuff them. It's not clear, if anyone has been arrested yet. It comes after protests at Yale turned violent over the weekend when a Jewish student journalist reporting on the encampment, which was erected Friday, was stabbed in the eye with a Palestinian flag. There are hundreds of people taunting me and waving the middle finger at me. And then this person waves a Palestinian flag in my face and jabs me in my eye. When I tried to yell and go after him, the protester got in a line and stopped me. Yale president Peter Solovey sent students an email late Sunday, warning the school will pursue disciplinary actions according to its policies amid the ongoing demonstration. So that's out of Yale. The police storming, I think that's a little heavy word, but police stormed Yale's campus with riot gear as hundreds of students stage anti-Israel protests. Also, Ilhan Omar's daughter, who was arrested last week at Columbia, her name is Isra Hersey. She says she's homeless and cries poverty after suspension from a $90,000 per year college. Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar's daughter has revealed that she has nowhere to live and nothing to eat after she was suspended for taking part in a disruptive anti-Israel protest. The 21-year-old was among the more than 100 people arrested and summoned for trespassing by NYPD officers after the group of demonstrators set up a tent encampment on the Ivy League school's campus to protest Israel's war against Hamas. Now, after being temporarily booted from the prestigious $90,000 per year Barnard College, Hersey said she's been evicted from campus housing and banned from using the dining hall. I was a little bit frantic, like, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to go? And also all the blank that is thrown in a random lot is pretty horrible, she told Teen Vogue. Now you're saying Teen Vogue. Yeah, they actually are very political, weirdly enough. I don't know where I can go. I don't know when I can go home, and I don't know if I ever will be able to. I sent an email like, hey, I rely on campus for my meals. I rely on my dining plan. And they were like, oh, you can come pick up a prepackaged bag of food a full 48 hours after I was suspended. There was no food support, no nothing. So she's crying the blues. By late Thursday, the protesters had dispersed and cleaning crews were brought in, but we know that all popped back up. I was zip-tied for about 7 hours and wasn't released for about 8, says Hersey. We had so many people who were born female in our group that they didn't have enough space for us. It was a very slow process in getting everybody into the cells. So there you are. Just an update. Good comment. Thank you, viewer. I'm not going to repeat it necessarily. Democrats are using an infirm 81-year-old Joe Biden to defraud the electorate. That's according to Miranda Devine. We're going to tell you about that when we come back. Yes, we are almost out of time. I apologize that I had to take that extra break, but I had no headphones. But now we're back. Better than ever. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Our water's better tasting. It's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
You learn pretty fast that there are no shortcuts in racing or in life. So it's no surprise that there aren't any when it comes to hair loss either. One of my first attempts to deal with my own hair loss was a literal shortcut. Thankfully, my wife found Hair Club. I thought that nobody could understand how mortified I was to be losing my hair. So you can imagine how relieving it was to know that Hair Club's experts have already helped so many people with their hair loss. I was shocked that Hair Club had virtually every solution possible. If I had known about Hair Club sooner, I never would have tried any of those overhyped advertised solutions.
With over 120 locations, Hair Club is North America's largest provider of complete hair loss solutions. Whether you choose surgical, non-surgical, or restorative solutions, Hair Club has you covered.
If you're determined to get your hair back and live the life you deserve, just call Hair Club. You can get your own free personalized consultation with a hair loss expert and be on your way to the finish line in no time.
Scan the code on your screen now to schedule a free consultation and save 20% on select solutions using promo code Frankie.
show is going fast. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here. I'm Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So Miranda Devine, I like her reporting, her articles in New York Post. She talked about, and you may have heard this in the news last week, there's a lady who, I guess it was her uncle. The guy died, and she wheeled him into the bank trying to get him to sign a loan, not get him to sign, I mean he's dead, but to sign a loan document. The woman is seen on social media talking to the corpse in the wheelchair while trying to hold up his floppy head with one hand. Isn't it a pity we can't charge the Democrat Party with the same offenses as she was charged with, said Miranda Devine? After all, the barbaric treatment of Uncle Paulo in Brazil is a metaphor for how Democrats are using an infirm 81-year-old Joe Biden to defraud the electorate. Those of us not in on the scam are the bank tellers saying he doesn't look well. Are you sure he's okay? It's as if the whole country is strapped in with the corpse in that wheelchair as it hurtles towards a cliff edge. Most Americans agree that the weekend of Bernie's presidency has not turned out well. It's not just Biden's presentation, but his administration's increasingly unpopular policies covering the economy, the border, foreign affairs, and a raft of fringe social engineering projects such as Friday's rewriting of Title IX, which effectively abolishes the distinction between women and men. The nation was not exactly crying out for these Orwellian policies, but as part of the curious tapestry of bespoke pandering that constitutes Biden's re-election platform. Pretending you've stopped inflation, pretending you need Congress to shut the border, pretending that your uncle was eaten by cannibals, these are not vote winners for Biden. Whatever he's walking like a toothpick, as Donald Trump describes the president's stiff gait, falling over, garbling teleprompter scripts, or breaking into sudden angry yelling, and the normal political calculus, such as a candidate should be heading for a car crash. Even worse, the backup plan is Kamala Harris, who doesn't even have the benefit of the vapor trail of Honest Joe's self-mythology that has fooled America for 50 years. Well, I thought this was such a good piece by Miranda Devine. The polls reflect the Democrats' problem. With Harris, what you see is what you get, a completely phony, spouting claptrap. You would sense their heads exploding as they watched NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, where a new poll showed Trump smashing Biden by between 4 and 22 points on handling a crisis. Strong record as presidency, dealing with inflation and cost of living and necessary mental and physical health. The ouchiest of all was Trump's 9-point edge on Biden over who was competent and effective, a category where Biden has a 10-point edge over Trump. It had a 10-point edge in 2020. This is a good point. I'm sure that if mommy and daddies could afford to send their little baby to a learning institution that costs $90,000 a year, they could find their baby a suitable hotel suite or luxury apartment and furnish funds for her to eat at some upscale restaurant. Good point. And that was Ilhan Omar's daughter who's crying poverty. But I'll continue. There were more head explosions for the Democrats over at CNN, where voters in the battleground state of Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin viewed Trump more favorably than Biden by 4 points. In 2020, the situation was flipped, with Biden ahead 50-45. Donald Trump is, in fact, better liked than he was 4 years ago, and is better liked than Joe Biden is right now, declared CNN polling analyst Harry Enton. Double ouch. As if to emphasize Biden's disconnect with the voters, his campaign rolled out 3 days in a row last week in Pennsylvania. The state pollsters say he cannot lose. The motto was Scranton versus Mar-a-Lago, making the wealthy pay their fair share. As if Biden doesn't live a billionaire's lifestyle in a bespoke mansion he built on a lakefront estate in one of the richest parts of the country. And as his son isn't facing tax fraud charges in California or the family influence peddling operation, the folksy working class Joe shtick appears to have worn thin, judging from the lackluster reception he received from regular folks when he made supposedly unscheduled campaign stops at eating establishments to pick up food. The true purpose of these stilted interludes seemed to be so the campaign videographer can obtain footage of the president interacting with real people. But you really don't want to look too hard at how the sausage is made. When he entered a Sheetz gas station, for instance, Biden never took off his trademark aviators. Video footage showing him in front of a woman and a little girl, and they were wordless before he moved through the store, not interacting with a soul until he reached the counter where the shop assistant was primed to ask for a selfie. Biden posed and then woodenly exited stage left. Reporters tried to call out questions and he would not respond. The comparison with Trump's crowd engagement charisma is inescapable. The former president was mobbed in Harlem last week when he took a post-courtroom opportunity to visit the bodega where Jose Alba fatally stabbed an ex-con in self-defense. And I mentioned this on the program. What a great political campaign move, in my opinion. Unlike Biden's random campaign pit stops, there was a point to Trump's visit. He wanted to highlight the skewed priorities of an unjust justice system, which has been weaponized to neutralize him as Biden's opponent. At one point in Pittsburgh, a reporter pointed out the obvious to Biden. When you drive around the area, you see a lot of Trump signs, not very many Biden signs. Do you feel like you're in trouble here? That didn't go well with the president, who was only animated by anger. Well, you haven't been driving in the right places, pal, he snapped. Snarling denials of reality probably aren't a recipe for electoral success, says Miranda Devine. But these days, that isn't the only way to win elections. And turnout will be key this year as voter enthusiasm sinks to all-time lows. Even if Biden is a dead man walking, you could bet Democrats have plenty of dirty tricks up their sleeves. I thought that was a good point by Miranda Devine. But now we have to take our last break of the program as we wrap up. Boy, this show's going quick, isn't it? Keep those last-minute comments coming in. I got a couple things here about Hillary and Trump. But back to Miranda Devine's point, the election interest has hit a new low, as I mentioned, in the tight Biden-Trump race. Now the push is that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would hurt Trump. I still have my doubts on that, but that seems to be what the media is pushing now. So we can talk about that if you want, but we don't have a lot of time left together, so stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
At Simmons Rockwell Nissan, lease a brand new 2024 Nissan Rogue SV all-wheel drive for only $399 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horse.
Sheldon and Missy face off in...
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. We have a comment from a viewer, and I do not have an answer for you. The question is, I'm behind this morning, so if you have covered this, never mind, but I have big concerns about the Rapid Act. Yes, absolutely. Do you know where that stands? Is it part of the budget that passed? I am not aware if it was part of it. I don't believe it was. I'm trying to do some research right now, but there doesn't seem to be anything new. New York Key and the Rapid Act, a winning clean energy combination, so maybe it did go through. I'll try to find out more. I'm sorry I didn't have time to research that for you. By the way, an update, Columbia has canceled its in-person classes to reset as anti-Israel protests raise tensions. Embattled President Shafik said, I am deeply saddened by what is happening on our campus. Our bonds as a community have been severely tested in ways that will take a great deal of time and effort to reaffirm. Students across an array of communities have conveyed fears for their safety, and we've announced additional actions we are taking to address security concerns. Those fears, expressed by many Jewish students, were addressed Sunday by a prominent rabbi at the prestigious school. I mentioned this earlier, where he suggested to Jewish students not to go to class, to return home as soon as possible. So Columbia has canceled its in-person classes to reset. That's the word they use, to reset. Okay, Hillary Clinton claims, this is to show you what the rhetoric's going to look like as we near November. Hillary Clinton claims Trump wants to kill his opposition, like Putin and Kim Jong-un, in a wild rant pleading for Americans to vote for Biden, but admits the president, 81, is old. She believes that when it comes to a rematch between Biden and Trump, she still backs the effective and compassionate current president, despite his age, who wants to maintain our democracy. So she got the talking points. Trump was just gaga over Putin because Putin does what Trump would like to do: kill his opposition, imprison his opposition, drive journalists and others into exile, rule without any checks or balances. Hillary Clinton then claimed that Trump wants to kill and imprison his opposition in an interview rant where she begged voters to ignore an old Joe Biden. That's what Trump really wants. Those are the people he is modeling himself after, and we've been down this road in our, world history. We sure don't want to go down that road again. She contrasted Biden with Trump by saying that he wants to maintain our democracy. He will abide by the results of a free and fair election. They say Joe Biden is old. I say you're right. Joe Biden is old. He's also effective, compassionate. He cares about people. Donald Trump is old, and he has 91 federal criminal indictments against him. Trump's team responded before we go. Hillary continues to suffer from Trump derangement syndrome and can't seem to accept the results of the 2016 election. So she's now trying to tell herself lies in addition to trying to gaslight the American people into believing her own warped and perverted views. We are out of time. Yes, we are out of time. Thank you to everybody who reached out and was a part of the program. Don't forget, you won't forget if you watch TV for any amount of time today, but the opening arguments are to begin in the Trump case, the hush money case. So we'll be talking about that, dissecting that tomorrow. But I hope that you have a great day and that you'll join us tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. Now that we've gone 2 hours, 6 a.m. with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.